What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of BookMarked. I'm your hostess, Sherry's Joy. I am half of the DigiKast, and I am so excited to bring to you Th1rt3en by Cavanagh. Now, this book is a different, interesting read for me. It is mostly a courtroom book, right? So I love a good psychological thriller, a good documentary, a good scary movie. And when I say that this book, some of the chapters and some of the stories or some of the things that are going on in this book kept me up, not kept me up, but kept me wide awake in the middle of the night, looking around what's that noise? What just happened? And, when the cat jumps or when the cat touches you, you're like, oh my God, right? So that's this book. It is a series. So this is actually book 3 of the Eddie Flynn series. He is a lawyer, and the book, like I said, it does take place inside of the courtroom. The only other book so let me tell you first. I found this book through a recommendation that was on social media, not directed towards me, but another reader had I don't even know who it was. It was just one of those ad things. Had a chart of, snooze. It was, I don't know, let's just say the chart was snooze fest, taking a nap, I'm awake, can't sleep, oh my goodness, don't turn off the lights, right? And that was their chart. And on every category, there was a book that I had read. And then I saw this book at the I can't sleep thing, don't turn out the lights. And I read the synopsis of it, and I was like, yeah, let me check this out. I love to be scared for a second. And then I'm like, oh, it's just fine. So the only other book that made me feel this way that I've read before was The Whisper Man by Alex Norton. And that book was really good. Maybe I'll read it again and review it again. Or not again. I haven't reviewed it. I read it a few years ago before I started doing this. You should check that out. But okay, so let's get into it. Th1rt3en. We follow Joshua Kane, who we know as Kane. He is the actual serial person in the book. And the book starts off, he is homeless. So we got this homeless man. He's telling the story through his eyes and what he's doing. So he's he hadn't bathed, or, he really prepared to be homeless. He hadn't bathed in weeks and changed his clothes in weeks and things of that nature. And he's been on the hunt. He's been stalking this particular mailman, finding out about him and his life and his family and where he's going to be and his mail route. And his mail route is the courthouse. So he comes out of the courthouse with these 2 sacks of mail. One is, marked as official court mail, and one is just regular mail. And Kane, he's, on the ground begging for money. He's like, oh, give me some change or whatever. And the mailman just walks past him, walks past him. So Kane gets up, and he notices that the mailman, he dropped something. And so Kane goes up to him, and he's like, hey, you dropped this. And he holds out his hand, and his whole arm gets closed in the mail truck, slammed in the mail truck. And he did it on purpose to make it look like an accident, but he's got something wrong with him, some kind of disease or something where he doesn't feel pain, something neurologic, something in his brain, where he doesn't process pain. So his arm gets slammed in the door, and the mailman is like, oh my goodness, are you okay? And all this other stuff. And so he's like, give me, I'll take you to the hospital. And Kane is like, no, I can't go to the hospital, and all this other stuff. So anyway, he manipulates a ride in the back of the mail truck, and he goes in there, and he's only got a certain amount of minutes. So he empties out the official court mail bag, and he sorts through it, and he puts all the women back in the bag, and then he takes pictures of the men mail male forward men. And, you know, and he tosses a coin and he's like really telling his thoughts. He's like, and this is what was so chilling. He's like, I love the way the brain operates and how people feel pain, and to see the look on their eyes, and to feel how they feel through what they say and their sound. And you know, it gives me some sort of like satisfaction and thrill, and he's just like really explaining it, and I'm just like, ooh, crazy. So he tosses a coin. He's like, heads you're gonna live, tails you're gonna die. So he gets where he's going. He gets dropped off at the hospital, and he leaves, you know, and he lets the mailman live. And and so that's how he just enjoys people suffering and pain. And I think that is really, really chilling. So then we learn a little bit about his backstory and how he became how he is. And you know, and then we move on to the next person. So actually what he was doing is he took the mail, the official mail, so that he could get the jury duty mail, so that he could find a male juror to take his place as a juror on this trial. And the trial is for Bobby Solomon, who's an actor whose wife and his main security guard, or his chief security guard, have been unalived on purpose. And so the case is about, you know, solving, you know, that. So they want to prosecute Bobby, saying that he, you know, committed the crime or whatever. And so Eddie Flynn was hired because he doesn't back down from the police. He's like, look, this police, this jurisdiction or what have you is corrupt. I'm going to weed out, I'm going to sniff it out, and I'm going to find it. So he's not afraid to go after the police and, you know, to really get down to the nitty gritty and find out what's going on. So that's why he was hired. He's really good at what he does. But meanwhile, he does have his own personal, you know, things going on in his life. So we learn a little bit about that as well. And the story, I will say 100%, I wasn't fully engaged until like word, you know, page from page, until we got to the actual trial. The first part of the book is all about the jury selection and legal mumbo jumbo and things that are going on. Like I said, this is kind of the first book that I've read where we're inside the courtroom. So it was kind of like boring to me. I'm not really like a law type of, a judicial fan, if you will, of genre. But I did read it, and, you know, I actually rate this a 3.5, unfortunately. And that is because it could be because this is book 3. So I don't really know any background story other than what was given to us about Eddie Flynn. However, the book wasn't particularly about him. It seemed like it was more about Cain. And I do not feel like, I mean, I'm not that I don't feel, but Cain was just introduced into this book. I feel like Cain could have a spin-off or a prequel or something like that, where we learn more about his particular story, because the flashbacks that we do get are so good and so chilling. I want to know more about Cain. I want to know his background. I want to know his story and his upbringing. I want to know more about that. And I really wish that this book kind of weaved in and out more about him. Now, I will say the end, there are quite a few climaxes in this book that are like, whoa, like there's this one scene with SWAT in a panic room and you got like tear gas. And I'm just like, what? You know, and then there's a twist, like who I thought was involved in it actually wasn't, and who was involved. Like I didn't even see it coming until it came. It was like, I thought it was this person, but then something happened. I was like, oh, it's not that person. And then you find out it's that person. So it was like a mind-blowing type of twist. It was that aspect of it was so great. But because I was not fully engaged in the first part of that book, I wasn't really in those pages. And because I, just not the judicial type of reader, that is why I gave it a 3.5. Now, the book itself, the writing was good. It was in third person. So it's, some writing was in third person, some writing was first person. It was okay. It jumped back and forth. To me, it was fine. It was easy to follow. I, loved the descriptive writing, and it was really good. So would I read another book from Mr. Cavanagh? I absolutely would. Do I want to read another book in this particular series? Probably not. But if you have read a Eddie Flynn series, or even another book by Steve Cavanagh, let me know, and I will check it out. If you feel like I might enjoy it, or if it's worth giving it a check out, that's fine. I do have a ton of books coming up, and I'm so excited for them. So please stay tuned. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Well, like this video and subscribe to our channel, the DigiKast. If you know anybody who could benefit from this review or any of the book reviews that I do, please share the love, spread the word, give them a link, just all of that. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everything, all the comments, all the likes, all of the love and support that I've been getting. Shout out to everyone. And, you can check me out. I am on Blue Sky at BookMarked SJ. I am on, actually, that is not true. I am on Blue Sky at Sherry's Joy, and I am on Instagram at BookMarked SJ. I will get that right one week. I am also, like I said, part of the DigiKast, so you can find the DigiKast on Instagram and Facebook and Spotify. You also can find us here, so please subscribe to the channel. We have a blog, the digicast.substack.com, and with that being said, love the world.